Can we talk a little bit about where you see people mostly pull the money from, get the money from, or finance these? Because I know a lot of people who have accessed their home equity to finance or, other assets and things, but there are some other loan products out there. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a lot of new loan products that are coming in. Most of the stuff that we're building right now is getting financed with the proceeds from a house sale. It's well north of 50% of people over the age of 55 own their houses outright if they own a home.
Yep.
So they are using that. They're selling that, and that number, the expected proceeds, is the budget to build the ADU.
Yep,
one
makes
to one.
sense.
Maybe some of them are looking to keep some of it, but that's how they're setting the budget. And then they're doing things to finance the gap between sale and move-in. Stuff that's coming is hopefully going to make building an ADU available to the people that don't own their house outright.
There comes a time, somewhere after 50, when you realize home isn't just about where you live. It's about how you live. It's about who you're becoming and what you're ready to make space for. I'm Juli Ford, real estate expert and longtime wellness coach, and someone who's lived in a multi-generational home for the past decade while reinventing my life and my business. And this is Home After 50, a podcast about what it really means to find, shape, and come home to a new season, to a new home, to a new version of yourself. Whether you're thinking about upsizing, downsizing, moving in with family, or just asking bigger questions about what's next, you're in the right place. Each episode, I will share stories, insights, and real strategies for women redefining home and life on their own terms. Because after 50, home isn't just a place, it's a calling. And this time, it's yours.
Welcome back to Home After 50. If you've been exploring what your next chapter could look like, aging in place, living closer to your adult kids, or creating a home that supports multi-generational living, this episode is for you. Today we're talking about accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, and why backyard homes have become one of the most practical and powerful housing solutions for families right now. My guest is Chris Lee, the CEO and founder of Backyard ADUs, a company that designs and builds custom backyard homes across Massachusetts, Maine, and New Hampshire. Chris comes from a background in finance and economics, and he entered this space after seeing how broken and fragmented the housing system is. And what I really love about his company is that they support families from the very beginning through the whole process, exploration to move in. And they really take into consideration the personal needs of the people who will be living in the space. In this conversation, we talk about real world costs, financing options, family conversations that need to happen first, design considerations, and what it's actually like to live through a build in your backyard. Let's dive in. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me. It's kind of neat to be on your podcast and talk ADUs in Massachusetts and building.
I am really excited about this conversation, and I want to thank you for making the time because I know that you guys are really, really busy.
Yeah, we're busy. It's been a hell of a couple of years. I got into 86 years ago, and they weren't legal anywhere yet. So it was just the beginning in Massachusetts, and then come this year, it's legal in all states, and especially legal in Mass. And wow, I mean, we're just trying to figure out how to keep up and not have to say no to people.
It doesn't surprise me at all, right? Because I think, and I've done, I've talked with you once before. I've talked to some of your staff. I've taken a deep dive into your website. So I know that you and I are really aligned on how we see ADUs as a solution to so many problems that we're having. We have such a housing crunch. We have an affordability crunch, especially for the younger generations. We have a care crisis for our aging parents. So I think ADUs are such an amazing potential solution to that and to the affordability issues, especially for so many families, that I think what do you think? I think we're only going to see the demand for this just continue to grow.
It definitely should. I mean, I think demand currently is outpassing people's ability to build them.
Yeah.
Just from they are inexpensive relatively speaking, but they're still
They're
expensive
still
to do a
expensive.
new.
Yeah.
Everything is expensive in construction, and it's
Yep.
way more expensive just to 5 years ago.
Yep.
But demand now, I think there's probably five people who want to build an ADU for every one that can get it done.
Wow. That's
And
incredible.
and that is hopefully what we'll see. We'll hopefully see that gap start closing
Okay.
over the next couple of years as more builders figure out how to do it, how more designers figure out how to do it inexpensively, and then hopefully as we find more ways to drive the costs down.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask. So that gap between demand and ability to deliver, do you see that's primarily because there are not enough people like you, providers of those services to keep up with the demand? Or is it also because it's even though it could be a more affordable solution than having separate homes fully, it's still, it's still an expensive proposition, like you said. So is it both
Yeah,
of those things?
it's on both sides. It's on both sides of it. So it is both things. There hasn't been a lot of people who have gotten into this space yet
Okay.
and figuring it out. And the people there aren't actually that many people who can build a full house in the modern complexity of doing so.
Interesting.
And it's very fragmented. So the people that can oversee a full construction of a home might only do 3 or 4 houses a year on average,
Okay.
and they're distributed. That group of people then don't do their own design work. They don't do their own permitting work. They don't do the engineering work. So it creates a situation where there's multiple people that have to get corralled in order to create an ADU product that somebody can actually purchase with
Yeah.
certainty. And that part of the market hasn't really matured. There's a lot of work that has to happen there. We need to figure out how to get more builders into the position where instead of being able to just do a kitchen remodel,
Mm-hmm.
they can take that to the next level and oversee the installation of a foundation, a
Yep.
water and sewer connection, and make sure it happens on budget and on time and in a good way.
It's interesting because I was going to ask you about this, and it makes so much sense to me hearing you talk about it that way. What I see you guys as doing is creating and this is one of the reasons I really wanted to talk to you, because it seems to me that you're creating like a comprehensive service experience for people who want to add a backyard ADU. And what I mean by that is like I go to your website and the first thing I see is enter your property address. You can check eligibility. And then I see information there. I'm like, how does the process work? What are the local rules? What is the financing that might be available to you? Like, how does this actually work? You even have very like transparent cost information on your website. So you seem to be like a start to finish solution. And I'm not aware that there are many of those out there for this.
There aren't. I think we're the only one in New England, and we might be one of the few nationwide. There are a couple of examples serving the West Coast, but it hasn't made it here. And it comes from my background. I don't come from a construction or engineering background. I come from tech,
Oh,
where
okay.
you should be able to just click to buy, and you should be able to just do a recurring subscription fee.
Okay, this starts to
But
explain a lot.
yeah, but to apply that to like people need to know what they're getting, and it
Yeah,
needs to be a process that they can actually see the start, see the end,
yeah,
and not have enormous amounts of financial risk as they're working their way through it.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, like this is a really big ticket. You're buying a house, you're building a house, and if you have a budget of 300,000, you need to know how to get to that budget. And the only way that you can realistically tell someone that they can build an ADU for a budget is by having a full understanding of all of the pieces that go into that. Because, well, you see a lot of people like it's very easy. I wouldn't say very easy. It's relatively easy to quote a foundation up price for something that's pre-designed
hmm,
because that's it. It's like it has a certain number of 2x4s. It has a certain number of windows, and it will cost something. But when you take that forward and try to figure out, okay, how am I now going to factor in the uncertainties of of excavation. What is DPW going to want for the water sewer connections? Is there going to be a conservation concern? What's going to happen with septic? I figured you have to figure that out, and you have
Yeah.
to create a product around that.
Yeah.
And we basically set off to figure out how can we do that in pre-construction for as little cost as possible and get to a point where someone signs a fixed price construction contract with zero risk of change orders
So
unless
this
they
is
want.
fascinating to me because this came up. I saw this on your website, and this came up in a conversation I had with you before, where I was not naming names, talking about someone I know who's building an ADU, and they have a $40,000 shortage because the project had overages that the builder didn't, I don't know, plan for or see coming. And you said, "Oh, that wouldn't have happened with us because once we quote the price, that's the price." Which, talk to me a little bit more about that, because that's very interesting.
Yeah, once we get there, that's the price. And if we haven't, and if there's something not locked in, it's explicitly tagged as an allowance.
Okay.
And we do our very best to go to contract without allowances
Okay.
because they can blow stuff up. But when we're in that process, there's a balance between pre-construction research time
Mm-hmm.
and being able to eliminate an allowance versus speed. And
Okay.
sometimes someone who's not super budget conscious but very time focused may want to just go to do that allowance and skip that additional research.
And
But
you're talking about the homeowner themselves. They may decide. They may say to you, "Chris, we got to get this done fast. I'm willing to have an allowance, a little bit of uncertainty now, just to get this going." Is that what
yeah,
you mean?
I'm with basically, yeah, exactly. We could tell them
Okay.
like the worst case scenario is that this might cost 30 grand,
Okay.
but it might also cost 15. Are
Okay.
you able to stomach that? Yes or no?
Okay.
But our average, we're not on average going to contract with allowances. We're trying to get rid of them. The recent examples, sometimes we'll do a septic if we haven't fully nailed down a septic design,
Yeah.
and we're not sure how groundwater is going to imply with that. But if we do that, we're going to go to contract with a huge allowance
Okay.
to make sure that we do our best to come in under it.
Right.
And we do that because we've learned the hard way. We've been doing this for 6 years,
Yeah.
and we've had customers where we have had to come back on one of those and be too high, and that's never a good experience. And
Right.
it's really bad for somebody who's halfway or like working through for the place that they're going to live.
Yeah.
It's better to set the expectation right up front.
100%.
And we, on the other side of that, outside of allowances too, we've hit we do enough of these as well where we're pricing to be able to lose a little bit on one of them. So like when
Makes
we're
sense.
going through and taking through, we're making decisions about how certain are we about that electrical spec working?
Right.
How certain are we on the DPW water connection actually happening that way?
Mm-hmm.
And if we have 5 ADUs, one of them might have on our internal budget might blow up, but the other four make it okay.
Right.
And
So you
someone
can
who builds
sustain
four,
that.
we can sustain that. And that's always been part of the plan, is to get to a scale that allows you to have that system of like internal insurance.
Yeah,
that
you're
you can
spreading
provide
your
certainty
risk.
to everyone.
Yeah.
We're spreading risk. It's insurance that makes humanity go around. We all
Yep.
hate insurance, but honestly, like
Yeah.
it's a good way to go.
Definitely. Are you, because I think you told me before, just tell me, how many ADUs are you building this year or last year?
We should do between 50 and 60 this year is the goal.
Amazing.
We're at one a week right now in Maine and Mass,
Wow.
and we're making moves to scale that. We'd like to get to 2 a week going into next year. And we're working on new systems for pricing to allow us to do that. Last year we did 33. And then we also dabbled in some multifamily modular projects. We did a 20-unit condo project in Portland, Maine.
Oh, wow.
We did a 3-family project on Peaks Island, and both of those were funded by Maine Housing, and both of them were net zero.
Oh, amazing. So let's talk about net zero, because I saw that on your website too. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so net zero, no energy bills essentially with photovoltaic typically. Everything that we build to zero energy ready standard.
Mm-hmm.
which in Mass means it qualifies for the Tier 1 Mass Save program. It's all electric, heated with mini splits, but net zero energy ready just means you could get to zero energy bills, zero electricity bills if you put solar on it.
Yep.
More often than not, we aren't doing solar on the residential, like on the individual ADUs, mostly because the budgets that we're at these days are what people can afford.
Okay.
They
And it would
don't
be
have an
more,
extra-
it's a more expensive investment up front to add the solar, right?
Exactly. They don't
Yeah.
have another 20 grand to have the
Yep.
luxury of not having energy bills.
Yep.
And that's just the way it is. And there are some programs in Mass that allow you to finance the solar panels, but the ADU project right now is complicated enough for somebody to wrap their head around.
But adding that
Adding a
extra
whole
layer of
nother
solar.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's idealistic, right? Like we would love to tell everybody that they absolutely should do solar because it's right for the world and it's right for you and it's right for your pocketbook. But at the end of the day, building an ADU, getting into your family's backyard and having a place to live is probably step one.
Right.
And then you can circle back on that later. The opportunity is not disappearing.
Yeah. No, I'm a solar fan. We have solar in our house, but it's not without its complexities. And also, quite frankly, your house has to be in the right position. If you have too many trees or the sun just doesn't land correctly, it doesn't, it's not ideal anyway. So, but the idea is though, that you're building with such energy efficiency that we're keeping heating energy bills as low as possible.
That's right. And we don't, honestly, it's not the first thing we say about our builds. We just assume that like we've been doing it since day one.
That's great.
And it doesn't feel like we need to advertise it. It just kind of should be assumed that, oh yeah, it's going to be very energy efficient.
Yeah.
And I thought it was, it's been an update when we did the first couple of these, and I was doing research back in 2019 and 2020. There were a lot of people that didn't think you could build a 600 to 800 square foot detached house that was going to be past stretch energy code because there were issues with how the underlying software was doing HERS ratings.
Oh,
and it was
okay.
incorrectly evaluating small houses. And basically what was happening was it was taking water heater load and the appliances load, and it was applying them across square footage. So basically a big house got more credit for its stove than a little house did, but it get used. But ultimately the little house uses less energy.
Right.
So they updated that almost right when we started. So the first houses that we did, we were able to get in and pass stress energy code. So we kind of hit that, and that was the basis for everything we've done. But where I was going with that is Massachusetts updated its energy code for ADUs and rolled it back. So the tier 1 stuff, you have to be sub 45 on the HERS ratings, and they increased stretch code for ADUs. I think it's in the 50s.
Okay.
And they did that in response to new people just coming to the space and not knowing how to deal with small.
Oh, interesting.
And deal with the water heating problem, the electrical load problems, and how that interacts. But hey, it was good for us. We didn't change anything. We're still sub 45. Yeah. We still get the 15K credit. And now it's a differentiator because you don't have to do that in Mass anymore. You can build a little bit less efficient.
Right. Well, I mean, we've seen a loosening of limitations, right, to ADU builds. I know with the Affordable Home Act and allowing ADU builds to supersede, what used to be local restrictions. How much I'm curious, so let's just, for everybody listening, clarify that, and you said it before, but I just want to point it out. You work in Massachusetts and Maine. Do you also work in New Hampshire, or did I have that wrong?
Yeah, we've got 2 projects going in New Hampshire right now.
Okay. So in Massachusetts specifically, did you see an increased demand when earlier last year the guidelines for Massachusetts really opened up for building ADUs? Did that increase demand as far as you could see? Yeah. Yeah,
it did. We had a huge spike in monthly inquiries. So we went from averaging like 300-ish a month, and now we're up over 600 to 700 a month.
Oh, amazing.
Joining our newsletter, inquiring about building an ADU.
Yep.
So we added help on our inside sales team, which is essentially a first stop for looking at online records and getting a sense of yes or no, should you spend any money at all for an
Yep.
ADU? And then we've been working to expand we call them small home advisors to kind of keep up with it.
I love it. So this is perfect because this is what I wanted to ask you next. So a lot of people are thinking like, should I do this? Can I do this? And it feels overwhelming to figure out where to start. If someone is just at the very beginning of considering this, like, what do you hope that they do first? Like, what is the very first step that someone should take if they're thinking about adding an ADU?
So the first thing, honestly, because prices have moved so much, is to gut check how much you think it's going to cost.
Yeah.
If you haven't bought or built ever or recently, prices have moved a lot. And we've got baseline prices for different size, or we call them our design paths.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just on there, and it assumes 50 feet of trenching for utilities, and it assumes a flat backyard. So typical normal conditions.
Okay.
But if that number looks good to you, and it generally is where you think it's going to need to be, there's lots of different routes for what do you do next. I would say it's never a survey. It's never hiring an architect. It's never hiring a civil engineer.
Okay.
And it's probably not even hiring backyard ADUs to even do possibly a feasibility study. I mean, there are the two directions you probably want to go first after you have that. Just okay, it's going to cost maybe 300 grand. That's
Yeah.
plus or minus 10%.
Because
Put
on your
that in.
website, I feel like you have a range. You're like $150 to $400,000 generally, right?
For different sizes. When we try to get
Depending on the
tighter
size.
than that. Yeah, we
Yeah.
try to get a lot tighter than that. So if you want a 900 square foot ADU maxed out,
Yep.
you can pretty safely think it's going to be between 320 and 370,
Okay.
depending on your
That's really
finishes.
specific. I love that.
It's a lot tighter than, yeah, because like
Yeah.
it's garbage to say that it's going to cost between 2 and 350. Like it's like, okay, that's very, very different. That's $1,400 a month different if you're going to finance
Way
it. Like,
different. Yeah.
so you got to figure out like what size is going to work for you. Are you a 2 bedroom or are you 1 bedroom?
Yep.
And then you can back into some of those differentials either with upgraded finishes, or you may have to substitute that for what happens with site specific utilities. But
Yep.
ultimately those ranges are going to work. And it's enough to take the next step of do my kids want me in my backyard?
Well, okay, this
Do
is so
like
great.
that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
So that's the side of things that I really work on, right? Like I'm supporting a lot of families to try to have those conversations because I think people do jump to either the home shopping if they're looking for someplace that's already arranged for multi-generational living, or like, oh, maybe we should build something. And I'm always saying, okay, let's back up and think about like, have you talked about money? Have you talked about legalities? Have you talked about privacy and boundaries and how you envision living together and can that work? But there's also the financial side of things. So if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is like, let's begin with an awareness too of what the cost might be. So let's just say I do want a 900 square foot maxed out, like the most I can get out of a backyard ADU with like two bedrooms. And so let's say it's going to cost me $350,000 because you gave me this range of 320 to 370. So then are you saying then, okay, where are we going to get $350,000? Right? Can we afford this?
You can do that. I mean, I think more often than not with the financing that's out there, you can probably get that money. So there's lots of banks that have come to the table with products that do mortgages based on post-build value of the property.
Okay.
And even if you were to finance the entire amount of the ADU, it's still going to be cheaply on a monthly basis than a lot of the alternatives out there. It's going to be cheaper than renting. It's going to be cheaper than going out and buying a different house. It's going to be cheaper than assisted living or a aging place community.
Yep.
So you can immediately check all that off. It's going to be less expensive, however way that you look at it.
Yes.
So the question is it where you want to invest that money? Do you want to invest that kind of money into a family member's backyard or as a rental unit? And can you make that scenario work? So kind of your checkbox is, okay, going to cost about 350. Got it. I can stomach that. 2, it's going to be cheaper than something else, but do I want to live there in that
Right.
backyard
Yep.
in this joint living situation. And what concerns might I have when I do that? And you start getting into, like you said, there's the legal, there's the family stuff. I mean, it's funny with us, we have both the parents of kids who are going to live in their backyards reach out to us first secretly. They haven't talked to their kids. They're trying to
Yes,
get like
I get a lot of
their
secret
level of
emails
certainty.
from usually the older generation about that.
Yeah, they haven't asked yet, but they want
Yeah.
to like they're trying to get to their level of I have enough to broach the conversation,
It's
and
the
the same will go
reconnaissance
on.
work. It's actually
It's the
great,
recon.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's got to start doing that recon, and
Yeah.
everyone's like level of ready to go is different.
Hmm.
So you've got to kind of kick through that and get there. And everyone has a different level of care on the legal side
Yes.
and the issues with transferring 300 grand into someone's name through that kind of build transfer.
Yep.
So there's different pieces, and it is good. It doesn't happen often, but maybe 1 in 20 projects that we start doing planning work on stop because of family issues. And we just
Oh,
had
interesting.
one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a lot, but it's there. We
But it
had
does
one
happen.
stop, probably, yeah, they actually just stepped out of our design process last week. And there were siblings. There was a mom who was in her, I think she was late 70s, early 80s. She owned
Hmm.
her house outright. The siblings didn't want the mom to have anything to do with financing on the ADU, which they need to because they are the title of the property. So like
Hmm.
they will have some interest in that mortgage.
Yep.
And they were just going round and round in circles trying to figure out how can they get their sister, because there was going to be the sister sibling living on the property to help provide care for the mom.
Yep.
And the sister was going to pay for the mortgage, pay the monthly payments. But it just got too complicated for them. They hadn't fully figured it out, and they just said, "All right, we got to figure something else out."
Yeah.
But the sticking point for them, they didn't want to ask their mom to sign on the mortgage, even if she didn't have any financial liability,
Hmm.
and they also didn't want to ask their mom to title the property over to the daughter.
Yeah.
And interestingly, there was no, according to them, and we think it, I mean, it's probably true. There wasn't there was no distribution of asset problem going on between
Okay.
the siblings.
They weren't arguing about it.
They weren't arguing about the money per
Yeah.
se. It was just the disruption to late 70s, early 80s mom
Yeah.
and having her head explode when they asked her to title the property over while
Yep.
she's still living there.
Yep.
And they couldn't figure out how to make that happen. And that's
Interesting.
what prevented the ADU from happening. And it will probably end up resulting in mom being in assisted living a lot sooner and
Yeah.
being way more expensive than anything they could realize right now, and probably selling the house sooner
Yeah.
to pay for the assisted living.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I've actually had people. So I have this, toolkit that's like all this pre-work that I hope that people will do, like, addressing all these different topics. I've actually had people get the toolkit and then tell me, and it's funny because, I'm a big fan of multi-generational housing, but I'm only a big fan of it if you've really thought it through and it's the right thing for your family. I've had people tell me, Julie, I downloaded the toolkit and I realized I'm not ready to do this. Like, I'm not going to do it right now because now I've thought it all through. So ideally, you have those conversations before you get into the design and build process. So that's fascinating to me that you've got like 1 in 20 kind of finding out a little too late in the process.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, it's complex. Can we talk a little bit about where you see people mostly pull the money from, get the money from, or finance these? Because I know a lot of people who have accessed their home equity to finance or, other assets and things, but there are some other loan products out there. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a lot of new loan products that are coming in. Most of the stuff that we're building right now is getting financed with the proceeds from a house sale.
Yep.
So lots of people in there, like I'm blanking on the exact statistic, but it's well north of 50% of people over the age of 55 own their houses outright if they own a home.
Yeah.
So they are using that. They're selling that, and that number, the expected proceeds, is the budget to build the ADU.
Yep.
One to
Makes
one.
sense.
They're not looking, there maybe some of them are looking to keep some of it, but that's how they're setting the budget. And then they're doing things to finance the gap
Yep.
between sale and move-in. And they could be taking out a home equity line on their existing house, the kid's house, whatever it might be.
Hmm.
But the stuff that's coming is hopeful. Well, the stuff that's here now, and as interest rates hopefully start coming back down, is hopefully going to make building an ADU available to the people that don't own their house outright.
Yeah.
Getting back into like the average American middle income, they didn't quite pay their mortgage off by the time they were 55 or 60
Right.
or even 70.
Yep.
Or starter homes. I mean, we've done a few of these as starter homes now
Okay.
that were financed with a mortgage. And
So wait, I want to make sure I understand that. So you're saying like someone purchased a existing home and added an ADU at the same time? Is that what you mean?
no, it's actually so it was adult children building an
Oh,
ADU in their
yes.
parents' backyard
Yes, and that's
be
their
able to
starter
afford to
home.
live.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a reverse consolidation, and they used the mortgage that they signed on in order to build their ADU, their
So
house.
who has that product and how does that work?
Yeah, there's a growing list of banks in Mass. Cape and Coast has a product.
Okay.
Uh, Cape Cod 5, Siemens. So the Cape was kind of the first mover in
Yep.
banks that created products. Cape and Coast has the bigger range, and they're formerly Cape Cod Co-op, but they have
Okay.
the bigger range in Mass. Bangor Savings out of Maine covers all of Mass,
Oh,
and they
okay.
have a good ADU loan product. And then there's some in Maine that have popped up. Kennybunk Savings has a program. There's a credit union that has a program, but they're all starting to do it, and they all are doing the similarities that make them an ADU loan product is that they take a second lien on your first mortgage. So
Okay.
they all realize that you probably have a mortgage interest rate less than 4%.
Yep.
You're not going to refinance that to build an ADU.
Right.
So they're basically saying, keep that, and we'll give you a second mortgage, and we won't make you refinance it. And then so that's one piece. Second mortgage is key. The other thing that they're doing is they're using post build value. So it's kind of like a renovation loan
Yep.
where the appraiser is coming in and appraising the property after the new ADUs on there.
Yep.
So that even if you still owe 80% of your mortgage, you're going to get a $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 valuation increase, which is going to allow you to basically take more cash out and build that ADU.
Oh, so you mean, but that would be like a home equity loan kind of product based on the end
It is.
value?
That's what it is. Yep.
Interesting. Oh, I love that idea. Okay, but wait, back to the other one. I know you're not the lender. Maybe you're making me think I should probably have a lender on the podcast too to talk about these things. But okay, let's go back to that scenario. Adult, the parents own their house. Adult children building an ADU as their starter home. They get second mortgage to cover the cost of building. Is everybody typically on that mortgage, parents and kids?
So mortgages, so that everyone's going to be on the mortgage,
Yep.
which means that the underlying property is at risk of being seized if the ADU if it's not paid.
Right.
But from a credit reporting and actual liability to pay those, it can just be the ADU occupant.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
you can separate out the obligations,
Okay.
but the underlying thing is if you're on the title to the property,
Yeah.
you are signing off on the mortgage in the sense that you could lose the whole thing if one of the two mortgages doesn't get paid.
Right. That makes sense. And then I'm imagining too, people really need to involve their estate attorneys and real estate attorneys in making sure that, I mean, from my perspective, if you're making a big risk and a big investment and putting your name on a mortgage, you should also talk about ownership and title to the whole property because it changes everything.
Yep, they do. And surprisingly, I don't think a lot of the people that we work with have formal side agreements on that. The concern comes up usually when someone's kid is not doing as well as the parent might want them
I've
to,
hoped. Yeah.
or has made bad decisions or something like that. The parent Or if that doesn't exist, it's a parent who's an attorney or someone who's deep into this, but they want some kind of formal side agreement that explains how what would happen if the kid wants to move to California all of a sudden.
Exactly.
It
Life
basically just
changes.
like
Yeah.
grants the right to that the parent can live out their years there for as long
Yep.
as they need to. And then besides like the legal thing, there's lots of financial ways that you can hedge your bet against that joint liability. Like one of the things that we've recommended people do if they really need to, if there is concern about payment risk of one party
Yep.
and a foreclosure event, is that when you go to build the ADU, you can basically establish an interest-bearing escrow account that's worth a year's worth of mortgage payments.
Okay.
Put it there,
Yep.
and then if something happens,
Job
well, now you
loss,
can pay the mortgage
illness,
for
divorce, so many things can happen.
any of the things. Now you're
Yep.
paying the mortgage.
Yep.
The ADU or the house could be empty. You're still paying the mortgage from that balance, and it gives you time to figure out what to do.
Yeah,
Do
that's a
you
great
rent
idea.
it? Do you move? Do you sell the whole thing? Whatever it might be, it just buys you that time, and it
Right.
doesn't start the 270-day foreclosure clock, right?
Right.
You kick that out.
That's a great idea. And I am a big fan of legal side agreements because life changes, things happen. And I think that family communication and harmony, it has a much better chance for success if you have those hard conversations up front and everybody just kind of knows, okay, we already talked about that. Well, we know what to do if anything goes in a direction that we're not expecting. Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
point to the document.
Yeah, exactly. I love that there are so many great, creative solutions for financing coming up. I also like that, these units can be rented out. So say your family does get, your kids do get relocated to California. You could rent the unit to someone else. It doesn't have to be a family member.
Yep. Yeah, you can rent it out.
Yeah, which is great. Anything else that you feel like like wish people would like think about or educate themselves about before they get to the build process?
Um, what should they be thinking about?
I think we covered a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's so different with what they. I think it's key for when somebody gets into the design is to have a sense of what are their top three things that they need to have when they
Okay.
go into the process.
Yep.
Because like ultimately, like what we do, we're ultimately designing pretty custom. All of our floor plans are pretty custom.
Okay.
But with budgets and with the setback constraints and size constraints, there are going to be trade-offs.
Yes. Yeah.
And if somebody has truly thought through, okay, I am willing to do a stand-up washer dryer instead of a side-by-side, I'll take that if it means I get more storage. Like if someone's done that mental gymnastics in their head, it could also be features in the property. Like I am very comfortable losing that patio that I just put in at a huge expense in order to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's thinking through what are the things that you're willing to sacrifice. Because ultimately everyone's doing this on a budget.
Yep.
And at current costs of construction and current costs of buying a house and current interest rates, there's only 2% of Americans that are going to go into this without needing to
Some
make
kind
trade-offs.
of debt. Yeah. Or
Yep.
yeah, right. Not having to worry about a budget. Yeah. There's not
Yeah.
many people
Just
that
go
don't
for
have
it.
to worry about a budget. Yeah.
And honestly, like we have we get 1 in 10 of our projects are those,
Okay.
and they take so much longer.
Oh, I can imagine because if you don't have any limitations, right? You could just keep
Yeah, you
adding
just-
things or changing things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can we talk about the design for a minute? Because after having built so many of these, and I know, you're doing them custom for people, what are the things that people have found like that they love the most? Or like, what have you learned through this process of designing these that help you like make recommendations when you go to meet with somebody and talk about what's going to work for them in the design?
Yeah. So a lot of these that we're doing are for people aging in place.
Yep.
And they're all bringing stuff with them.
Yep.
Family heirloom bureaus,
Yep.
kitchen tables that they brought through, grandfather clocks, like
Yes.
and ultimately they're bringing too much stuff into this small
Everybody
house.
does. Yep.
So
Yeah.
part like a lot of our design process is placing furniture through a house
Hmm.
to show how it fits.
Yep.
But we've learned you have to do that
Yeah.
because the first handful of ADUs we built, we watched people try to move into them,
Okay.
and it takes, and if you're not pre thinking about what furniture is actually going to fit in this smaller floor
Yes.
plate, you're going to bring everything in,
Yep.
and it's going to suck.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be claustrophobic. It's going to be hard to unpack.
Yeah.
So when you're designing small, you've got to be thinking about what's coming with you and what are you replacing for something that might be a better fit.
I love that. So I've worked with a lot of move managers. I don't know if you know, but there's a specialty called senior and specialty move managers. And what they specialize in is helping older adults usually right size or downsize. And a big part of what they do is say like, okay, what has to come with you? You know, is this dining room table going to fit? Is this buffet from your great grandmother, you know, going to come? And then take the measurements, you know, go to the place that they're moving into and make sure that and do the floor plans, like 3D floor plans. So do you guys do that? Like, do you know? Like, they're like, okay, we have to bring our dining room table and here's the measurements. We have to bring this. Are you guys going to that level of planning with them?
We absolutely are. Yep,
Oh,
I think you
amazing.
have
Okay.
to. I think you
Yeah.
have to get this right
Yeah.
because small, like, so traditional architecture and over the last 20 years, the way that you make the design work is by making it bigger. So
Okay.
you don't worry about like fitting furniture. Like I don't want to totally downplay the work that goes into that, but they're less worried about the activities that are occurring in specific spaces
Yeah.
and the furniture that is going to go with those activities.
Yep.
Because when you're building in 900 square feet, you do actually have to think about it all.
Yes.
And you have to play out where things are going to go, where you're going to be sitting. So you have to do it.
Yep.
And with us, so like we are very comfortable working through custom layouts, like floor plans
Hmm.
all the time. And we've standardized all of the structural aspects.
Okay.
So we work in basically different structural box widths and lengths, and we can dress those up with different roof pitches, and it makes it feel very custom because it's very flexible.
Yeah.
But from our standpoint, the stuff that's expensive, doing the structural engineering, doing the MEP plans, doing the permit set drawings, that's generally all the same. It's rinse and repeat. Like those don't care if the length of the house is 2 feet longer. Those also don't care if the interior walls are completely different because we're dealing with structural boxes
Yep.
and we're not doing custom load calculations all of the time.
Okay.
So we've eliminated that from our design and engineering process. It's easy. And now we get to spend time on the stuff that matters to the people that are going to live in it.
Yeah. I love
And
that.
it's a good trade-off. And that's why we can basically stay custom. And honestly, like thinking through custom design, what gets hard is honestly finishing choices becomes more difficult than doing the floor plans. And it feels like people care more about window placement and floor plans than they do on countertop
Countertops
selections
and
and stuff.
hardware and things like that.
Yeah, it's not always the case.
Okay.
Some people do have very strong opinions, and the ones that do tend to have beautiful, fully designed, and we do probably 1 in 10 is like that for us, and those are the ones that are picture perfect, and
Yep.
we like doing for that. But that gets hard. So if you think if the internet is your universe of options for kitchen counters or sinks or faucets, and every single one of those
Yeah.
has um, a different manual on installation.
Yeah. Whoa.
Picture a carpenter needing to read a 30-page manual to do that installation, and then
Yeah.
finding out that they didn't get the right screw from Home Depot.
Interesting.
So
But you guys are doing that level of custom build. So you're not just saying, here's our 10 countertops to choose from, like here's
we are
our
doing that. So we're full custom layout, window placement, all of that.
Okay.
But we do have preferred finishing choices.
Okay. I
So
think that
we
makes
have
sense.
we have a short list of countertops. But we do also like we try to limit like full custom finishes or things to less than three per per project. It's
Mhm.
not a hard cap, but we've noticed that if it ends up being more than three, it really blows up our ability to execute on the finishing because
Yeah.
if you think there's three custom things, if every one of those has three weird questions from the field, now you're at 9 exceptions. If you go to four, it goes to 16, so it's exponential every
Yeah.
time you
Yeah.
add it.
Yeah.
So we try to limit it, but most of the time people are finding what they're looking for in
Great.
our list of stuff. And when they don't, what's more common? Tile is one that
Yeah.
there's so many awesome options for tile out there.
Yeah.
Um, and then flooring is another one that often people are picking what they can find at a local flooring spot.
Okay, makes sense. Do you find, I know you mentioned that a lot of your homes are built for aging in place. So how important are like wide doorways and no thresholds and showers with no lips? Or like, are you doing a lot of that kind of thing for people?
Yeah, we do. So we prescribe to basically ANSI B level of accessibility, and that's basically it's a type B where we're not going full ADA unless
Yep.
someone says I am 100% going to be in a large wheelchair for the
Okay.
whole time.
Yep.
That's one situation, but that's really not most people's situation.
Hmm.
And if you are in a wheelchair, it's usually temporary.
Okay.
So we're planning for that situation where you might be in there. And what that means is you're doing, instead of doing a 5 foot turn radius in the bathroom, you're making sure you have sufficient space in front of the toilet or in front of the shower and to navigate or to drop a walker.
Great. But you are
But it makes it,
thinking about all those things.
yeah, we are. We're thinking about it, and that conversation's happening in the design kickoff to see what level of care they want to put into it.
Hmm.
And not everybody, some people don't care at all. Like for better or for worse, we've done bathrooms that are going to be hard for people to live in maybe 5 years after into it. But when you're working with somebody who wants a certain thing, it's ultimately better for them to be close to their kids than to be close to their kids and also have a huge bathroom.
Yeah. But you're having that
So
conversation, right? And
we're
then it's a
having the
choice.
conversation, and everyone has a different opinion, and everyone's different on. It goes to the sacrifice, right? You have 900 square feet. Do you want a 100 square foot bathroom?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or are you going to accept maybe a little bit of hardship by not being able to have a full 5 foot turn radius? And
Yeah.
most people take that. I mean, I wouldn't even call it a risk. People, I mean, our parents and elderly people have lived in much, much worse situations than an ANSI B house, or
Yeah.
even just a newly constructed house that doesn't have thresholds. Or 32-inch, or just if you think a 30-inch door is often bigger than the doors in some of these old farmhouses where a
Yes.
lot of
That people are
elderly
selling
live.
to move into the ADUs. Yeah. Yeah.
So they're already getting an incremental improvement by building new.
Yeah.
So, and it goes to the whole philosophy of like the last 20 years of design and construction. It's like, if it's a good idea, we better put it in our code and make everyone do it. But it's like, just because it's a good idea doesn't necessarily mean that it's what we should be doing. And if we put it on everybody, we're creating a product that nobody can afford. And it's just too good for the average person.
Yeah.
So you're solving for the edge case
Yep.
and making everyone comply.
Yeah.
And we subscribe to like let's have a reasonable conversation about it. Ultimately, you're going to pick, and if we can do it per building code, we're gonna make it work for you.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I think you have layouts, don't you? I think some floor plan examples on your website that people can look at. People are always
Yep.
asking me about layouts for things like that. Before we wrap up, is there anything that you feel like would be great for people to know, like what to expect or plan for through the process? Like, how long does it typically take? How long is construction happening on their property? What are the kinds of things that might be like a little bit annoying that they need to prepare to live with for a while? What do you think people should know
Yeah.
about that sort of thing?
Your backyard is going to get totally destroyed.
Okay. Let's
It's going to
just
get
be honest.
let's
We're
just be
wrecking
honest.
it.
If
Yeah.
you're doing a new detached structure, I mean, it's going to get absolutely blown up, and it's
Yep.
going to take a year or two to get grass back.
Okay.
unless you have an irrigation system.
Yep.
But the reality of the matter is you're going to absolutely have your yard destroyed. Um, what we're trying to do to hedge that, we do a cone of destruction meeting before we start going. So our small home as will go out there, and we try to identify the things that people really care about. Is there a tree or a shrub or a bush? Or did your mom bring an echinacea plant from New Jersey that's
Yes.
been there for a while
Yes.
that we shouldn't like?
Yeah.
And that's
That
happened.
might
We
need to
ran
be
that over on
relocated.
accident.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a very
But
specific example, Chris. I
yeah,
figured
and
that probably
or
actually
is there a
happened.
mulberry bush that looks like it might be just a bush tree that we ran over on accident? But but it's going to get blown up, and you need to know what you care about, and you've got to think through it.
Yep.
So that's super key. As far as construction goes for us, it's very fast. We have tried very hard to compress our construction cycle as much as we can. For our typical ADU that doesn't have vaulted ceilings, it doesn't have a basement, it doesn't have new, like we're doing that in Massachusetts. Our average last year was 12 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
start to finish, we're done in 12 weeks.
Wow. That's fast.
In Maine, we did 7 weeks, and our
Wow.
fastest was less than 4.
Oh my gosh.
And that's start to finish. So
Wow.
we're doing that very, very fast. In Massachusetts, the time's longer because of the inspection cycles.
Yep. You
We've
mean
been
from like the
slow
building inspector, the
from the
plumbing
building
inspector, the
inspector.
electrical inspector? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're the way that the municipalities schedule and the number of times that they're on the property
Yep.
slows us down a little bit.
Depends on the town too, I imagine.
Totally depends on the town. Like we're working in Pittsfield right now, doing 2 ADUs, and they have 7 different foundation inspections. So we can usually do our foundation in 2 days. In Pittsfield, it takes us 7
Okay.
because they have to come in and they have to inspect the ground underlayment. It was crazy. But so yeah, it's somewhat inspection driven on that. But yeah, it's lightning fast. The whole process though, not to get like that's the interruption
That's the actual
period.
like build part, right? If
That's
I
the
called
build
you
part.
today and I said, okay, Chris, I want to do a backyard ADU, like what should my expectation be from like I had the idea to my
Yeah,
kids doing
so
it?
I'll start it from when you come into the design process. So you've
Okay.
signed a project plan. You're saying, I'm ready to order the survey. I'm ready to start kicking the tires and formally do this. It's 10 to 12 months.
Okay.
So all in 10 to 12 months, you're moving into your new custom ADU. The things that blow that period up, there's really 3 things. If you have conservation concerns in Massachusetts, it's going
Yes.
to take longer. You're going to add 3 months to your cycle.
Okay.
If you have to do a new septic design, that's also going to add a couple months.
Yep.
And then everyone's different on how quickly they land on what they want to build.
Yes.
So
Okay.
some people, it's one round of red lines on a floor plan, and then they've circled all the finishes they want,
Yep.
and they're ready to build in a month. And we put them right in the schedule, and that person might be start to finish in 7 months.
Okay.
But most people, the pre-construction, it's mostly there's some iterations, and we're doing customizations and planning for 2 to 3 months, and then the lead time to get on the schedule. But 10 is a good number to think of. 12 is pretty safe.
Okay. Great. That's a great guideline.
Yep.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, this has been so helpful. I know that my listeners are going to be really fascinated and also feel a lot better equipped to explore this possibility for their family. And I love what you guys are doing. I love that your support is so comprehensive from start to finish. And I know you guys really care. That I think I saw on your website that you said if you and your wife wouldn't live in it, you're not going to build it. So I love the commitment to quality that you guys have as well.
Yeah, it does matter. I mean, if you're going to be a developer or a builder or something, you got to think through what the bare minimum is, because with the current cost environment, you could push it too far. Like you could push it too far, but it's also really expensive and there's not a lot of options out there. So like
Yeah.
that level has changed over the last 6 years.
Yeah.
for better or for worse.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I will drop links to your website in my show notes so people can know where to find you. And you also have educational events. I know you do like behind the scenes, like tours, and I'm going to be on your webinar in March, actually. So I'll look forward to that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got we do two a month, two webinars a month. I think the next one we're doing first week of February is on our design process, and then the one we just did was the feasibility process, the utilities, crane access, stuff like that.
Excellent. Well, this episode will publish next week, so I'll just I'll get the link to your next webinar from you and drop that in the show notes too. So if people want to join for that, they can definitely sign up.
That sounds great. Well, thanks for the blast.
Thank you. I hope you loved this episode as much as I did and learned as much as I did. If you want to learn more about Chris and Backyard ADUs, I will include his bio and a link to their website in the show notes. And on their site, you can also find information about their upcoming free educational webinars. There's even one coming up on March 18th where I'll be joining as a guest. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks so much for listening to Home After 50. If this episode resonated, I'd love it if you'd come hang out with me on Instagram. I am at It's Juli Ford, ITSJULIFORD. Just remember, no E on Juli. That's where I share ideas and behind the scenes about multi-generational living, real estate, business, and creating a next chapter that you love. And if you're curious about whether multi-generational living might be right for you, you can grab my free guide. It's in the link right in my Instagram bio. It's a simple way to get started imagining what's next. Because after 50, home isn't just a place, it's who we're becoming. See you next time.